Good afternoon, Britannia, and hello to the rest of the world. Welcome to 2C TV, your global news channel. We come to you guys with some breaking news coming from the justice system in the United Kingdom. We've just heard over the last hour or so that the former Labour MP, Mike Amesbury, who got a little bit drunk and got a little bit physical with a constituent who was not even a threat to him. Initially, Mike obviously was suspended as a Labour MP, then expelled. He's still an MP, independent MP. He received a sentencing, as you guys remember recently, 10 weeks in prison, right? Now, problem with this is that a new judge has now come out to reverse all that. Mike Amesbury is now avoiding jail and is getting a suspended sentence for 2 years, which again doesn't mean he is going to go to prison directly. We're going to talk about the issue with this. We're going to talk about the two-tier justice. We're going to talk about the judge. You need to know something about this judge who decided to do this appeal. And of course, all the other issues around it, which we're going to get your reaction in the live stream as usual. Don't forget, it's now Thursday, 27th of February. First things first, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We've now reached 769,000 subscribers, and we have our documentary Groomed coming out this Sunday at 9 p.m. UK time, produced and presented by Sammy Woodhouse. You can join 2C TV Plus by going on 2c.tv and use the promo code DOC10 to get 10% off annual memberships. And of course, you can watch that and all the other documentaries that we have. All right, so Mike Amesbury is no longer going to go to jail, right? Despite the fact that we're going to show you the actual screenshot of the CCTV, just as a reminder. He was talking to a constituent, an angry voter, and the guy had his hands in his pockets. Mike Amesbury he was drunk, apparently. He decided to punch him. But the guy went down. Mike didn't give up. He kept going about 5 times, 7 times, right? Almost took his life. Now, let's not forget, these sort of situations could get dangerous. One in the wrong area, then you're dead. It's done. Now, it could be in a reckless intent, in terms of reckless attempted murder. But of course, the guy's alive, luckily. So he only got a few weeks in jail initially. He did the appeal. And the judge decided to say, it's okay, you can walk out freely. You're fine now. And instead, Chester Judge Stephen Everett ordered Mike Amesbury to carry out 200 hours unpaid work, which is natural for MPs, for politicians. They love to do that sort of nonsense. Undertake a 12-month alcohol monitoring program, go on an anger management course, and carry out 20 days of rehabilitation work. So the thing about this is that the justice system should be, in a civilized world, about 2 things. Punishment, obviously, and rehabilitation. Everything you saw in terms of what I just said, including the anger management and the alcohol program or whatever, these are part of the rehabilitation part. These are the part of preventing someone like Mike Amesbury from becoming violent again. So that's about preventing future crimes. Fair enough. What happened to the actual punishment part? There's no actual punishment. And there are some examples that I'm going to bring you to show you the two-tier system. Because for people for less than this have been sentenced to 2 to 3 years in jail. And why is it that this man is allowed not just to walk freely, but actually remain an MP? He doesn't have to resign. Now, there is a pressure for a recall in his constituency, but he doesn't actually have to resign. So that's also another problem which we will discuss. He does remain an MP and will continue to receive his £91,000 salary under parliamentary rules, which states an MP only has their salary removed when they are no longer a member of parliament. So clearly there's a problem with the parliamentary system which needs a bit of a reform. We already know that. Let me know what you think, by the way, in terms of what we should do. Should we just, because obviously if you're a convicted criminal, you shouldn't really become an MP. Why is it that if you're an MP already and you become a convicted criminal, you're allowed to stay as an MP. Let me know what you think. But the recall petition, right? How is it actually triggered? A convicted or of an offence in the UK, obviously if you receive a custodial sentence, that also includes suspended sentence, or is ordered to be detained other than solely under mental health legislation. Suspended from the House of Commons for 10 sitting days or 14 calendar days. Convicted of providing false or misleading information for allowance. Claims under the Parliamentary Standards Act 2009. So we do know that there is going to be a petition, a recall petition. There's going to be a full push for a by-election. But the problem I have is not really just with Mike Amesbury himself. It's with the system and the individuals inside the system. So in this case, we are talking about a very specific judge who decided this. This judge, Stephen Everett, there was a post about him actually. Peter Reynolds exposed him. Once he jailed an NHS worker for 3 years for 9 grams of cocaine in possessions, by the way, not trading. And then he actually said it will be unconscionable to send a pensioner to prison for dozens of indecent images of young kids. So there was a whole case around someone who happened to be a pensioner but had pictures, very, very bad, disgusting pictures of kids. This judge said, you don't have to send him to jail. This is the context. Barry Chapman was appearing at the Chester Crown Court. This is on the 9th of May, a while ago actually. A 76-year-old the pensioner, he did plead guilty to 3 counts of making 81 images and 1 on overall, obviously, possession of those. Of the 81 images, Chapman downloaded 56 of them in the highest category. They had all been downloaded between 2006 and 2018. That's a long time, by the way. So he was going and going and going. He kept doing it for a very long time, 12 years. Although originally arrested in July 2018, his Honour, Judge Stephen Everett, said the case had been pushed down the list of priorities by Cheshire Police and Chapman was not charged for another 3 years. So with the Barry Chapman case, we had 2 problems. One was with the actual police force, who didn't see it as a priority. The guy was going around finding pictures, right? And but then when eventually got to the court, he got charged and everything else. But the judge said, everything's fine. He said, it makes a huge difference to the defendants because I will tell you right now, I will not be sending him to custody when I do pass my sentence. It would be unconscionable to send him to prison. It might have been different had he been prosecuted as he should have been. And what sort of country do we live in? Then all these legal technicalities continue to prevent justice to actually be served properly. I mean, first that pensioner, now Mike Amesbury. This is the same judge that decided this as well. But let's see what the ex-Labour MP actually says about all this, which is still a problem. This is his official position on the incident. This is Mike Amesbury. I thought I was about to be physically assaulted by this male. I was terrified and felt vulnerable and cornered by the male and others in the group. Now, we have reported this a few months ago. You might have seen this report. There was a CCTV footage that came out afterwards. Mike Amesbury's position hasn't changed. This is what happened. It's just them 2 standing, right? The one on the right who's about to basically make a move, that's Mike Amesbury. The one on the left, both his hands are in his pockets. He's actually looking to the right. He's looking away while he receives the sucker punch. Mike Amesbury was the one shouting, being crazy because he was drunk. The guy was standing there. Obviously, he was not happy as a constituent. He was saying, "You're a terrible MP. Go away," right? And Mike apparently felt vulnerable and threatened. The man went down without defending himself, and Mike kept going for about 5 to 7 times. Who was the one who was actually vulnerable? Who was the one who was cornered? What's this group that he's talking about? There were a few people, obviously, then came afterwards to separate them, obviously, to then actually to look after the one who was on the floor. Nobody, by the way, fought back. Nobody hit back at Mike. The judge surely saw the CCTV footage, right? I mean, we all did. That's clear evidence. But this was the judgment. Absolutely fascinating, by the way, because you've already seen the double standards in the system, not just with that Barry Chapman guy, who had pictures of kids, but for example, Jack Bennett, 39 years old, was given a 28-week jail sentence for sending messages, emailed to Jess Phillips, threatening her, right? Disgusting messages, intimidating emails, whatever, right? To Jess Phillips, who's a Labour MP. He had to go to jail for 28 weeks. So if that's the case for someone threatening someone, fair enough, cool, yep, 28 weeks. If you physically actually attack someone, firstly, you would get potentially 10 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks, and then you could actually get suspended. So which is worse? Sending an email threatening someone or actually doing it? Seems like threatening someone is worse instead of actually being equal, right? But actually doing it. So if that person, that Jack idiot, had met Jess Phillips and had attacked her, as long as he could come out and then say, but I felt vulnerable against Jess Phillips, so I attacked her. So he would be in a better position than actually sending the email before any potential attack. What is going on here? Now, the focus right now, which is my problem, by the way, all these MPs in Parliament. Now, the opposition, the Conservative Party, Reform UK, the Liberal Democrats, the SNP, all these guys, their focus, as far as I know, everything I've seen in the House of Commons over the last few weeks and months, in this case, is about Mike Amesbury, because it's all about politics to them. For all the opposition parties, from Reform and Tory, Lib Dems, because it's about they want a by-election and they want to win that seat. That's all they care about. Not one single person in the House of Commons has come out to talk about the two-tier justice system right now. They have not talked about this issue. Now, let's see over the next few days, weeks, if any of these opposition MPs will stand up in the House of Commons chamber to talk about this judge, Stephen Everett, to talk about the double standards. Let's see if any of them actually care about the systemic issues rather than just Mike Amesbury as one MP who is an idiot, who should be in jail anyway. That's just one problem. The second one is the justice system itself and the people in the justice system, including this judge. Look into these guys. Do an investigation. Call for an inquiry. Do a proper reform of the judiciary. The Minister of Justice should be completely focused on. Will we get that from the opposition parties or not? Or even the Labour backbenchers who claim to be not in government and they claim to be obviously fighting for their constituents and people in the country. Do they actually care enough to do something about this? I highly doubt this. But we'll have to wait. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. This whole announcement and verdict just came out today. And some of these MPs obviously watch this channel. So hopefully they might raise this issue, not just about Mike Amesbury, but about the whole thing. All right, what's going on with you guys? We got Ivan. Thank you very much, Ivan, for your super chat, saying justice is no more. How much more are we supposed to take? Makes my blood boil when I think of Peter Lynch. Peter Lynch didn't even attack anybody, and he died in jail, as they say, mysteriously, apparently. Ivan also says the whole government are crooks, so it makes no odds. And Kevin also says, so he will do the 200 hours unpaid, work alongside, still picking his £91,000 MP salary. Yeah, of course. Now, obviously, the reality is there is going to be a recall petition. They're going to kick him out. There's going to be a by-election. But that doesn't actually fix the problem. This man did not receive the punishment that he deserves. You are condoning bad behavior. You are basically sending a message to everybody out there, including thugs and gangs, that if you get into trouble, this is what you should do. And then you could avoid jail sentence. Unless you're a white working class man, then you'll be in trouble. Chris says decent judges, and there are some, I'm sure. Of course, there are so many good judges out there, yeah. Should speak up about this because it's bringing their profession into disrepute. I hope Stephen Barrett speaks up about this. So there is a problem with actual judges in the UK because of the justice system. You can't really expect the judges to come out because it will be a political statement. There are so many issues with the judges speaking out about. It will be political. So, but lawyers can, and lawyers should, including barristers. And even the barristers, obviously, they have the high standards. They shouldn't. it'll be. They have to be cautious about how they phrase things. But definitely, Stephen Barrett and others will be speaking up against this, and he has many times about this case and similar cases. It says, what about the Pakistani gangs? They get away with it. I mean, let's not forget again the case that we mentioned. That Barry Chapman guy, who liked pictures of young people, young kids, the argument that, just because he's a pensioner, and he wasn't prosecuted, so let's just, even though the actual evidence was there, he didn't serve any jail time. Mary says petitions don't work. No, this is different. Not all petitions are the same, so depends obviously what everybody else is talking about. If you're talking about the recall petition, that's different. Recall petition is a parliamentary process. It's not one of these petitions, online petitions that people sign all the time. It doesn't really matter if millions of people sign a petition saying Keir Starmer should resign. It's not going to resign. There's no legal power behind it. But the recall petition is for MPs to be removed and by-election to start. So that's there's a legal power behind that petition. It's called a petition because obviously you have to get everybody to support it. That's it. It's not like online petitions. Misbehave says, this is outrageous. This MP completely sucker punched the guy. He punched the man who wasn't looking at him, and he had his hands in his pockets. The victim was attacked, kicked while on the floor. Yeah, they didn't even give up. They had to come and separate them. Well, move him away. Paul says, what difference does £200 make to £7,500 per month? Nothing, absolutely nothing. It's symbolic. It's a symbolic punishment so that the judge and the system would appear to be doing something. That's basically the whole thing. It's insane. Most of the British illegal immigrants came from Pakistan. No, not necessarily. We got a lot of illegals coming from other places. A lot of the Pakistanis come through the relatives and dependents. That's the issue. Not me, because they are free, rape children, and they will be backed up by the government. That's the thing. I mean, you also have, because of the demographic change, a lot of the people with similar backgrounds are now in the position of power in local authorities, councils, obviously police force. So we've had a lot of cover-ups, and they call themselves community leaders. This is why we're in this mess. Nobody wants to talk about this. Gary says, absolutely shocking, how the old pervert never went to jail. What about Tommy and the rest of the political prisoners? I hope Trump brings it up with Starmer. Not that it will make any difference, really, because Trump could say anything in a meeting with Starmer, and Starmer could just nod, but there's no legal power behind it, so Starmer could just continue as normal. Julia says, avoid jail for repeatedly punching someone who didn't fight back, but you can go to jail for posting your opinion. Well, yeah, I mean, that is unfortunately quite clear when it comes to the two-tier system, that there is no proportionality both ways, basically. When something has to be soft as a punishment, or when something has to be very tough as punishment as well. But it's absolutely embarrassing that I'm trying to find something for you guys, because there was a case a while ago in regards to an MP. Completely forgot the name, by the way. I'll come back to that, because what's her name? My memory is so bad. This is actually a friend of mine as well. Hang on. selfish. Yeah, okay. There we go. My memory. So, Deanna Davidson. Oh my God, it's so embarrassing. Deanna Davidson, Tory MP, former Tory MP, who was the MP in Bishop Auckland. When she was a kid, Deanna lost her father because somebody, I think in a pub or somewhere on the street, punched him. It was in a fight or something, and it was just one punch, just one single. Went here, went down, lost his life. So she, as an MP, started this campaign for the one punch campaign thing, to make the punishment for even one attempt more harsh, and it was fair. Clearly, considering that campaign, parliamentary campaign, that got a lot of attention, and MPs basically debated it, clearly that didn't really reach the justice system itself. It's the same deal that we have when it comes to people saying anybody carrying a knife should receive like instant, immediate sentence, for example, 5 years, right? We have all these rules and these powers. For example, if you carry a gun, you'll be in trouble anyway. And now we have to ask our parliamentarians to bring it up, to have a debate and vote on it, to make it a law. Firstly, sometimes you already have existing powers you should use anyway. Sometimes there is a campaign in Parliament, again, Deanna Davidson, again, when it came to her father. But nothing has changed because the system has not actually improved. Whatever happened with that campaign clearly hasn't worked. Now, Mary is repeating the same thing. I don't think Mary is listening to what I'm talking about in the live stream. She's just typing without having the... I think the video is on mute for Mary. We already explained that. Okay. Next. David says the opposition will not raise it because they want the same protection if they win the general election. I mean, it's not really a protection, because what we want the opposition to talk about is the overall problem with the justice system, a deeper reform. And sometimes politicians are not smart. It's not always that they are very smart, calculative people who plot with the lizards from Mars, and they always have a plot and they know what they're doing and they always F you over as normal people. No, sometimes they're actually stupid, and that's 99% of the time. These people, and as I said, Lib Dems, Tory, Reform UK, all of them, so far they haven't. I'll give them a chance for the next few days and weeks. Let's see if they will raise the issue with the judge and the two-tier justice system. This is not really about protection. This is not really about... We're not talking about the rules that now apply to Mike Amesbury. No. The overall problem with the justice system, a full reform. That's all I'm talking about. But they're idiots, because every time something happens for political parties, it's all about political point scoring. So the Tories or Reform or Lib Dems or all the others will see it, okay, this is an opportunity to attack Mike Amesbury so that there will be a by-election so we could win that seat. That's all they care about. And that's the problem. Again, I'll give them a few days to see which MP from which party would potentially stand up in the House of Commons to talk about the problem with this verdict, with this ruling that just happened now with the appeal. And Angelo says, seems to me there is a serious problem with these judges. Well, at least with this specific one, when it comes to Peters, it makes you wonder. It's so bad. The whole thing is just completely broken. If the politicians, judiciary, and the police don't follow the law to the letter, then don't expect the public to do so. The people involved should set an example and held to higher standards. So this is correct, but to clarify, the issue is not necessarily, for example, that the judge is not, or judiciary is following the existing laws. The problem we have, the British justice system was always superior, and we actually exported it to the rest of the world. The problem with that is that it has not been updated for a very long time. Most of the concept of the British justice system is based on precedents, right? But it also goes to interpretation of it. So it always goes back to legal technicalities. For example, the case we talked about earlier, Barry Chapman, the guy with the pictures of kids, they would say, well, because this didn't happen in terms of the prosecution, then Even though me as the judge would like you to send you to jail, but I can't send you to jail. You see the issue with that, right? Instead of actually having a bit of common sense and blind justice, there is a lot of loopholes and technicalities and obstacles that someone like Bin Laden could get away with something. If, for example, everybody knows this Bin Laden character has done all the bad things, but something is missing from one document, one sentence, not evidence, just a technicality. But that sentence ruined the whole case. It's stupid. You need to completely modernize the whole system. George says the ECHR is demonic. It's a way to destroy European countries. But the problem is, even though the ECHR values was also the British justice system exported it there, the values, the principles. But the structure of the ECHR, the European Court of Human Rights, is based on political appointments, essentially. So when you have bureaucrats, political bureaucrats, acting as judges, well, it's an issue. The role of lawyers and judges should be very different to political people and bureaucrats. But when you mix all this, so for example, if you're a left-wing barrister or a solicitor, you are allowed in this country to be political, to join political campaigns, to do whatever you want, express your opinion, obviously, and do political destruction. But if you are not left-wing, you could lose your job, you could get cancelled, removed from the bar, and everything else that comes with it. That's just one main issue that we have. There's all the other problems that at the same time we face every day. Crazy World says, as a broadcaster, can't you request money from the TV license tax? After all, it's charged for watching live TV. As a broadcaster, as in me being a broadcaster, can't you request money? Why would I? No, because the BBC license fee is for the BBC. So Netflix can't request money from the license. I mean, Netflix doesn't do live TV. Amazon Prime does. Amazon Prime does live TV, but it can't request money from the TV license. Or Sky Sports. Sky Sports can't request money from the license fee. Sky News can't either. So yeah, it doesn't really work that way. So it's for the traditional state TV. So who wants that money? It's a terrible idea. All right. Roger, what outcome if it were the MP for Clayton doing the exact same thing? It does make you wonder, because we always talk about who the perpetrator is, right? Who the defendant is. But what about different MP from a different party, for example? But I think when it comes to these sort of things, it's not necessarily, for example, the party of the politician. So it's not just that Mike Amesbury was Labour. If Mike Amesbury was still Tory, because of everything else around this case, I think the outcome would have been exactly the same. The issue is not him being a Labour MP or former Labour MP, is that he's an MP. You see the problem? A normal person would not have the same level of protection, but he could say, I'm Mike Amesbury. Until now, I was very honourable and credible. I lost my mind. I felt vulnerable. And people would listen to him. Like, the judge or potential jury were like, oh, fair enough, Mr. Amesbury. A normal person, they would look at him like, who's this random face? He's probably a thug anyway. Any excuse, any defense you have, we're not going to believe it. And we're just going to say, you're a terrorist. It's that public platform nonsense. We also said, for example, when Nigel Farage raised the issue of the debanking scandal, which was a very good thing. Obviously, it happened to him, so he had to raise the issue. And there was a bit of a pushback. They had to listen to him because he had the platform. There have been many people who were debanked before Nigel Farage, but they had the smaller platforms. Like, they raised the issue publicly, but nobody cared. But when someone like Nigel does it, because he got a bigger platform, obviously, the influence is there. And, little people won't have that sort of level of voice. And that's why channels like mine has to exist, to give that voice to the little people. So you don't have to wait for a high-profile person to raise an issue that you have as well. But speaking of obviously normal people and everything else, their voices must be heard, including, of course, those the victims and survivors of grooming gangs. That's why we have produced the new documentary on 2CTV Plus called Groomed, about Jodie Sheeran, one of the victims in Stoke. This was produced and presented by Sammy Woodhouse on our platform. If you want to watch that, you can join 2CTV Plus today by going on 2c.tv and using the promo code DOC10. You get 10% off annual memberships. You get access to all the other things that we have. We've got a number of big shows joining, and obviously these are all uncensored, ad-free, not like YouTube. These are sort of stuff we can't post here, obviously. You get completely censored. So go and watch on 2CTV Plus and join our chat forum as well on Maya 2C, and we are the media.